Welcome to Maba on the day of the Guanyin blessing ceremony. If you've not been to Maba before, how many of you are here for the first time? Okay. So you've come during one of the blessing ceremony days, and Guanyin, probably the most well-known of all of the Bodhisattvas, though the one who is compassionate toward all beings in the world. And since we all are very much in need of compassion, this is probably the most popular of all of the Bodhisattvas. And people from all over usually go to one of the Buddhist temples and participate in the Guanyin blessing ceremony. So after we have a few short talks here, first my introductory remarks, and then Master will also inform us more about Guanyin. We'll walk over together to the Guanyin pavilion on the other side of the lake, and we'll do a little bit of chanting that's traditional for this particular blessing ceremony. So, who is Guanyin, and how is Guanyin manifested or alive in our practice today? And for those who are interested, how can we become a Guanyin ourselves? So Guanyin, this is a picture of the Guanyin from the Nelson Atkins Art Museum in Kansas City, 3 times life size. Very beautiful Guanyin, and if you can see in more detail, the Guanyin has on the top of his or her head, because Guanyin can either be male or female, has also a Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. This Guanyin is the mind state of insight, compassion, contemplation. So to understand this, we can go more deeply into understanding the importance of bringing insight into our own life. How do we develop insight? The first is to be able to observe without any bias. In science, we know that if we want to understand the nature of things, we have to look very deeply. Maybe we have a microscope, or then we go in even more deeply with an electron microscope. Then we go into more deep depth with the Hadron Colliders. We go and we try to investigate more and more deeply into the nature of our phenomenon. But we have to have some way of being able to observe what it is that we're seeing. So in the same way, if we develop insight into our own nature, into the nature of others, we need to be able to observe very carefully. In this observation, we have to be careful about our own bias, because our own bias will cause us to look for certain things and miss others. So if we really want to see things with a keen observation, we have to be aware, this is my bias, I want it to look this way, but I have to be careful. How is it really? Then once we see clearly and have insight, then we can contemplate. We can actually see what this means. Contemplation means, what is the meaning? What is the purpose? How can I make this part of myself? And finally, with the Guanyin, contemplation leads to compassion, because when a person sees deeply into the nature of things, what is it that we see? We see, there's suffering in the world. All beings want to be happy, but there's lots of suffering in the world. Suffering in our own mind. How can we help ourselves and help others through this compassion? Now, there are some important things about compassion, because we have to be careful. Is this compassion with attachment or without attachment? This is very important. Because if we practice compassion with attachment, then we lose true compassion. With that attachment, we end up caring so much that it becomes more about us than about the suffering that maybe another person is experiencing. We all know of the person who suffers so much about another person's suffering that it becomes all about them. And the other person who's suffering is forgotten. This kind of attachment with our compassion is not true compassion. True compassion is the compassion of when you go see the doctor and he needs to do a surgical procedure. You don't want the doctor breaking down in tears, saying, "Oh no, I have to do this procedure on you. It's going to be difficult. I'm so worried about you." That doctor will scare you. Say, "Oh no, please let me find another doctor. I want to have a doctor who cares, but I want that doctor who cares to be professional." Professional doctor says, "Oh, I'm concerned about you. I will do this procedure," but you can see he's observing, he's contemplating, but he's not attached. He wants you to get better, but not with attachment. So there are 4 great bodhisattvas. The Guanyin, this is a Guanyin from the St. Louis Art Museum. If you haven't been to the St. Louis Art Museum to see the Guanyin there, I can say to you, having gone all over the United States, this is one of the finest of all the Guanyins. You'll notice that these pictures of the Guanyin always depict this in this posture, the Guanyin sitting with one leg up and resting the arm. This is called the easy sitting pose, or sometimes called the royal pose, but really easy sitting pose. Guan Sezai Pusa, the Bodhisattva Guanyin in the easy sitting pose, because he's approachable or she's approachable. It's not like the pose where the person is sitting in deep meditation. You wouldn't want to go over and disturb anyone who's sitting in deep meditation. Here, the eyes are open, they're sitting relaxed. You can approach. This is the mind state of the easy sitting pose. We also have Samantabhava, that represents the 10 great vows to be of benefit to those in the world. We have Manjushri, who is the Bodhisattva of wisdom, the mind state of wisdom, often depicted with a sword because cutting off of attachments. And then Dizang, we have Dizang Hall here, who is the guardian of those who are suffering in a very negative mind state realm. helping them to be released from this very negative mind state. So there's much to say about all of these bodhisattvas, but today the bodhisattva means the one who renounces his own or her own desire to be enlightened for themselves in order to be of great benefit to others, opening the door of enlightenment to other beings, going in last. So Avalokiteshvara is the term in Sanskrit. We find this in Japanese, Kannon, Chenrezi in Tibetan, Guanyin in Chinese. So the actual character, Guan, is a picture of a heron. We have herons here in Missouri, the blue heron. Herons are very skittish. You can't get very close to a heron. You try, the heron will fly away. And it has a clamoring kind of sound that it makes, has a crest on top. But this particular heron has learned to calm its own nature, so able to hear the sounds of suffering in the world, or to see the sounds of suffering. This perception of suffering, very deep, to be able to actually detect it. Even when we try to cover it up, the Guanyin can see it, that part of our mind. So the Bodhisattva of compassion is the one who can let go of his or her own aspiration for enlightenment in order to be of great benefit to others in the world. Can see the suffering in each and every person and extends this great compassion without attachment, with the ultimate wish that we can all experience this release from suffering and attain full awakening, this enlightenment. So how do we become like the Bodhisattva Guanyin, or how do we cultivate our own mind so that we can be compassionate to ourselves? Well, we can practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness to learn how to observe and calm our mind, to develop that ability to observe. And we can practice loving kindness and compassion toward ourselves and all beings. And so in the loving kindness practice, we begin with ourselves, and then we send this loving kindness, this desire for others to be happy, to our loved ones, to good friends or relatives, to people neutral to us, and even to those who have made us suffer, and to all beings everywhere. You might wonder, why is it that we send loving kindness and compassion to those who have made us suffer? Well, for several reasons. One is that if we carry the resentment and upset in our mind, it's hurting us. So we're doing more harm to ourselves. And the second is, if a person could actually receive the loving kindness and compassion, then maybe they wouldn't be so troublesome. So we cultivate this radical sense of loving kindness toward all beings. And then we continue this practice by cultivating compassion. And when we cultivate compassion for those who are on the Bodhisattva path, we begin with those who are extremely unfortunate. The text says, a person who lives on the street without arms and legs, unable to care for themselves. But anyone who is in a very unfortunate situation, we arouse the bodhicitta, the mind state of being very compassionate, and extend that compassion to them. Or if we're not in that situation, to be knowledgeable about how to do that towards the very unfortunate beings, we start with dear loved ones. We all have dear loved ones. If we knew that they were suffering, we would want them not to suffer. And then people neutral to us, or to to good friends actually goes next, and then toward people neutral to us, and then those who have made us suffer. Then to ourselves. In this one we do the first three, the dear loved one, neutral, and then to those who have made us suffer, then to ourselves, then to good friends and relatives, and then to all beings everywhere. So this is the sequence that we use in our practice, and there are specific methods that are used depending on tradition that you might be practicing in, where there are different methods that are in the meditation itself. But then in our daily life, we need to practice this, not just in meditation, but when we are in situations when someone who is rude to us or rejects us, or someone who passes away. When something like this happens, we need to maintain our loving kindness and compassion. When someone treats us badly, when someone leaves us, when someone we don't know asks us for help when it's not convenient for us, we have to consider the importance of being kind and compassionate. When someone we believe is undeserving receives a gift, we have to be careful about of jealousy or envy. We want to recognize that this gift may be of help to them. Even when someone cuts us off on the road, or cuts in line at the store. Take a deep breath. We practice in ways to see our own selfishness in order to attain a state of selflessness. We don't want to be a doormat to others, but we transcend our own ego so that we wish no harm. We act in ways that are not harmful. We can still stand up for ourselves and for others and for what we believe is right, but to do it in a way that doesn't cause harm. Sometimes in my clinical practice, people will bring children to me who have been bullied at school. And they've been given all kinds of skills of how to deal with being bullied. And one skill that I offer is for the child being bullied to turn to the bully and say, "Oh, did you have a difficult day? Are things not going so well for you? Can I do something that would be helpful to you?" And if they do it with sincerity, this is so disarming of the bully that the bully usually just leaves them alone. I've had some situations where the bully breaks down and starts crying. Also, to help our mind, we can chant the Heart Sutra. This is also very beneficial. So today when we go to the Guanyin pavilion, we'll start by chanting the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the Guanyin, while deeply immersed in Prajnaparamita. That means the perfection of wisdom, the highest state of the six perfections, clearly perceived the empty nature of the five skandhas. The five skandhas are those things that make up who we are: our body, our form, our feelings, our perceptions, our habits, pattern of the mind, and even our consciousness. All of these things, we can say, are interconnected with everyone else. and don't have a separate ego. Empty. So this is what we learn to practice. So because of, I know Master wants to say a few words as well, so I'm going to ask Master to.
Good morning. For someone who is the first time here, maybe talk is too much for you this time. But please come back next time when it is not the day of ceremony or any community's celebration. I want to share a little bit with you this common understanding from the West and to the East. In Buddhism, what we're going to observe and learn is transform the name and form attachment. So commonly, we don't sensitive in words, and we don't sensitive too much in form or material form in the phenomenon. So in Asian we have multi-faith and belief. They can be more harmonized together. Especially in Japan, Korean, Vietnam, China, and Southeast Asia. Mostly, no matter they are Buddhist or non-Buddhist, once we talk about Guanyin Bodhisattva or Avalokiteshvara, they know them or they know him or her very well. So let me tell a little bit the experience when I am become monk from 20 to right now 55, and talk a little bit before I become monks what I know about faith or religion. So here is three pictures that I draw from the what we know. This is called heavenly compassionate one. In the right side, you see that is a lady who have one children in her arms. This is called someone really they pay worship and ask for help to this picture a lot in Asian culture. So when someone who want to have baby and don't have baby, then that kind of suffer and anxiety come to the mind. Asian people, especially the tradition Chinese people, they ask Guanyin to help so that they may carry baby and have a very healthy baby. So in this kind of teaching from them, traditionally they know that when I warm and carry a baby in my stomach, what I need to do is become more compassion and do more charity and help the poor, so in order I can have good karma. I do more wholesome so that that wholesome mindset will come to my blood, come to my nervous system, come to all these hormones, make it more balanced because of minds that go into calm and peace. That definitely influence to the baby. And they do a lot of chanting, and especially chanting the name of our Lord Deshwara in order to calm down the mind, and that will balancing this physical body in order the children, when they're born, become more healthy and calm, especially become more compassionate. I don't know this will come to the science, this point of view or not, but this is a faith in the tradition. Chinese people, Korean people, even though Japanese people. I want to bring another what we call that case in order to start. The next one in the back left hand side, that Guanyin Bodhisattva. And you can see his hand have one.
Yes.
Yeah, and then have one willow stick. Willow stick is someone that chased out the unfortunate by the holy water in the old day. So when you take the water from the jar and chase that water to, not common, to recommend or not recommend, to compassionate tell this unfortunate force go away in order to make myself little bit safe. So this is called ask for help, Guanyin Bodhisattva. Asking her for help. When I become monks, take the ordination back to Hong Kong, enter to Xian Master's Chan Hall to practice 7 days Chan meditation. The Chan Master had one talk about his teacher. He said, my teachers become monk is because of the Japanese war, caught by Japanese soldier, and one by one line up, kneel down and kill. So bang, 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 come to his head, the bullet not explode. Bang again, not explode. And then he have nothing to do in that time. He just carry on chanting the name of our Lord Deshwara, open mouth chanting, because shooting is carry on. So the Japanese soldiers that see this miracle, or what we call that, this technical obstacle. So he asked this man, what are you talking about? Your mouth always open. He said, I'm fear of death, nothing I can do. I just carry on chanting my faith, call my faith for help, so that I can transform whenever I pass away. Then this Japanese soldier, he is a Buddhist, and he just let this man go, not kill him. Then this man, back to the society, he immediately become monk. So this is the second life he earned back by this unconditional love. He became a great monk of Ten-Tai master. His name is called Tan Xu. He had one book called Yin Chen Hui Yi Lu, talking about life as a shadow. He remind back. So that book give very good telling about the stories of need his mind become compassionate. This is only thing what you can do when danger comes to you. One more thing I want to say is the middle one of the picture. This is a little bit like the spy. A spider. Yeah. Many hands at the back. Why this is unhuman being like this? Who become this? It will be threatening. But don't worry. The meaning of this picture is showing that all the skill you carry by mind and body. So become a compassionate one is very diligent to learn some good skill in order you can help yourself and help others. I remind here the young man sit at the back. The day you grow and come back to the society, you become very charming. It's not because you very fit, it's because you have lots of good skill. People like you. In order you can have better living style, better living support. So if you have great heart, open-minded, you may use this skill to help others. If you less skill, that means you are not awakened to how tough the challenge of the life. So when a compassionate mind come to the enlightened being, he himself totally wake up for training, not become laziness or restlessness. He will become more alert and sharp mind into learning. Learning for what? It's not always for food. Sometimes it's because of get ready, prepare when suffer condition, stressful of other come and ask you. You can support them not only with word. Here is something I want to say by word. Can you turn to the page? Yeah, this is something I think everyone will know better than me. With the Western religious culture, you go to the church, or no matter you are Muslim, you are Jews, Christian, any kind, we have the same system as go to pray. And there is the power, miracle, and they have some transforming, purify yourself. This is three kinds of power come to religious as a religious. What kind of power religious is different than other leader? Religious leader need to have very compassion mind. Even though someone want to hurt you, kill you, you still cannot fight back. You need to fight with peace. Fight with calmness. You cannot fight with kill and harm. If kill and harm can solve this world problem, they're already done. The only thing that you can solve the world's problem unless It is extremely happen, but at least you can save yourself out from that stress is by compassion and loving kindness. So religious people or leader is a peaceful maker. And other leader may be sometimes their skill is extreme and the hurt continue. They bring more hatred, then bring more violence. But we think that religion have a common sense from these three perspectives. In Asia, we do the same. I think when I tell something you can know is I born in Malaysia. When I was a childhood, I don't know what is Buddhism until after become monk. Then I know Buddhism. But I know Guanyin Bodhisattva very well because the day of the Guanyin celebration like today, where I can go is go to the temple who have worshipping Guanyin Bodhisattva. Then become a children, you can have very good vegetarian food supply for free. That is what I know. So when they come, I will very early morning go and help the kitchen clean up, chop all the vegetable, watch for the cooking, and then have big food. Fulfill this hunger coming back. And what I observe them right now still remember is in that day a lot of charity work going on. Visit the ill, visit the old retired unit, come to a lot of rescue. A lot of work going on is because of people respect that spiritual path that come together as a community. In the village, not many times we have, everyone is busy in farm or in other business. But in this day, take off. Bring the whole family, come to the temple in order they can have a happy vacation in this day. So here is something that I want to say in words, but not much time I can give talk. You know that here is something in the temple or in the non-Buddhist as a Guanyin believer they do. If you see all this word, it's very close to Western religion in the practice need. All this concept is support the practice in Guanyin Bodhisattva. But you say that the Asian people Asian people is a little bit humble. They're not talking too much about to stand oppose each other when they preach religion. They don't stand in very stubborn in the labor. They can come easily together. It's because the spiritual of compassion and loving kindness is across the border. It's no borderline. It's like right now I bring myself, when I see the father and sister come close, I will feel, oh, this is brotherhood. Very close to each other. We talk about celibacy, we talk about full-time service and whole life volunteer, no retirement. So a lot of things is not because of the label or any name and form. It's because of they have similar Son. Similar understanding in spiritual. One more thing need to go, then I finish. Here is two scholar monk. I don't have time to tell, but I have a lot of respect for with them. This respect to them is because I know them well. One is Xiankuan master. A scholar monk who honors and worshipping in the practice of Guanyin Bodhisattva. And Sun Yan Master is the monk that just passed away a few years ago. His life is very close connected to the practice of Guanyin Bodhisattva by his own talk. How he became the Greek monk in Buddhism, how this childhood slowly grow up connected to the practice. I hope next time I have time to give this talk. Today might be too much for the friends here. I want to stop and then I want to say, will this talk make you have a fresh understanding in the Eastern culture? We can come together more closely with the friendship. Thank you.